Welcome to Find Your Lady Tribe. My name is Brenda,
And I am Michelle.
and it's our mission to build a community of lady tribes, a place to connect and grow your tribe with resources, ideas, workshops, retreats, and events. We invite you to join our inner circle and become a tribe leader. It's free!
Each week, we will start a conversation about connecting within your tribe and across all of our tribes. Our goal is to create 1,000 new lady tribes in 2022. And each episode will challenge you with a call to action. The first one is to join our inner circle. Go to tinyurl.com/myladytribe. And as a gratitude gift, we will send you a downloadable copy of Chapter 1 of Lady and the Tribe, The Awakening.
Yay! So please subscribe to be notified of a new episode each week. Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today at Find Your Lady Tribe. We have a special treat. We have an author and coach, Allyson Roberts, here with us today.
So Allyson Roberts knows what it takes to make it in this world. As a young woman who found herself homeless, pregnant, and forced to live in her car, she turned to the writing of Napoleon Hill for comfort and guidance. Little did she know then what a huge impact his philosophies would make on her life. As a cognitive behavioral expert who uses her natural intuition, Allyson has guided thousands of people all over the world to find their internal power. Her system of personalized science, the combination of brain work and spirituality, combined with her grace and sense of humor, has made Allyson a highly sought after coach, speaker, and business collaborator. Welcome.
We're so happy you're here, Allyson. Tell everyone a little bit about you and why you do what you do.
So I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I have been here my entire life, but I've traveled extensively. But I always just end up coming home because I love it here. I have an adult daughter. She's 31. She also works with me. She's my social media person. She's everything. I shouldn't just label her. She literally does everything for me. And then I also have a 4-year-old grandson, and I am blessed because my daughter and my grandson live with me. We've kind of gone back to European style. So they have part of the house. I have the other part of the house. It's amazing. And I wake up Monday through Friday. Literally, I can honestly say that I jump out of bed. I'm so excited to work with my clients and watch them grow and have breakthroughs and just really come into their own. It's everything.
Awesome. So what brought you into this line of work?
So I started out my career helping battered women in a shelter, and that is really heavy work on a lot of levels, not just from the aspect of their physical abuse, but the emotional, mental, and spiritual abuse, and the financial abuse, the abuse that we don't see, that the part that's not obvious, that actually has the deepest impact on children and women. And after a while, unless I am not a special angel, unless you're a special angel, you just really cannot do that work for longer than a few years. And so real estate was going great. And one of my friends is a real estate agent, and she was like, you need to come and work for me. So I was like, well, this is going to be different. So I went and sold real estate. I did that for years. And then when the crash happened, which we all know about, I was privileged enough to take a year off and just really sit with myself, my spirit. I hired a coach, Lisa Nichols from The Secret, and she has this amazing intuition and this beautiful spirit. And she helped me see that I could combine my cognitive behavioral training that I had kind of shelved, along with my entrepreneurial skills that I had developed in real estate, to become a personal and business coach. And so I've been doing this since 2007, and I love it. I feel so blessed to have found this work.
Awesome. Well, I understand when you say, doing that tough work. I can't even volunteer at a humane society without bringing, a pet home, or,
Yes.
I've been to like fundraisers and stuff for kids that are going through abuse and going through the system. And I'm like, I cannot volunteer there because it would kill me inside. It would crush me. So I understand you worked with really volatile situations with women, and you did that for a couple of years. And that is probably, you tap into that on a regular basis when you're working with people, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, working in the shelter, you're seeing people on their absolute worst day.
Mm-hmm.
We would have women show up at the shelter, not with, missing like all of their teeth, with broken bones, just really, really, just very, just defeated, and the great thing is that they found their way to us, as it took a lot of, women with a lot of courage and bravery to find their way to us, which was amazing. But the beautiful thing that I love about the work now is that I'm not rescuing anyone. They're rescuing themselves. And I'm just teaching them how to do that. And there's so much more empowerment when we snap the cape on right here and just learn, what is going on inside of us that's stopping us on our path. And just being open to being coached and really learn, because the big difference between like the battered women situation and what I'm doing now is that those women were coming to us because they had to, and the people that I work with now are coming to me because I want to, and it's just a whole completely different exchange of energy.
Mm-hmm. Do you what do you find that, generally speaking, every individual and woman that comes to you has a different story and a different situation, but what are some of the trends that you see that women of a certain age need to work through?
The biggest, I would say that there's three top things. So one is that most women are people pleasers, and they put themselves last, and they're doing this to build a sanctuary for themselves where they're getting constant validation and approval, and accolades and all of those things. And they need that because they're lacking a firm, solid foundation of self-worth. And then that leads to them feeling lonely, which leads to them being isolated. And so it's just like this whole like casserole, if you will, of, guilt and people pleasing and low self-esteem and loneliness and isolation. And women don't even know that that's what's going on with them. They come to me because they want to make more money. They come to me because they want to find love. They come to me because, they feel stuck on their path. And then when I start to unpeel that onion for them and it start exposing layers, that's when most women will just start sobbing and just be like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense to me.
Mm-hmm. And you have been developing, or have developed, the way of bringing our spirituality and the belief systems that we've grown up with, which I think we have a lot in common, that tell us that's what we were supposed to do. People please and take care of others and ourselves last. How have you found success in mixing that, finding our spirit, mixing our spirituality and our actions and behavior changes together in your coaching?
That is such a great question. I'm so glad you asked me that.
Yeah.
So religion and spirituality are completely different. Religion is the dogma and all the rules that we're taught, where spirituality is our relationship with whomever that deity may be. So I honor and respect that everyone has, a religion that they've grown up in. And I never try to dissuade people from stopping the practice of their religion. Because to me, it's really none of my business. But what I do try to help people understand is the higher consciousness, the connection that is that pure place inside of all of us. And when you go to that place through meditation, tapping, I have other practices that I do to help people kind of open that door, that internal door, and step into that still, quiet space. When you find that place and you go in, that is where the awareness comes that religion is kind of on the outside of us and spirituality is on the inside. And when people find that door and they step in, a lot of times they'll turn and look at their religion and understand that the dogma doesn't really serve them. We're born into our religion and our parents tell us what we're going to believe. And as we grow and become our true authentic selves, not that we want to dishonor our parents, but sometimes what they believe is it's just not in alignment with what we believe anymore. And so it's having the courage and the bravery, first of all, to admit that, because most of the people that I work with at some point before they found me, they've shifted their religious experience and somehow, but they feel so much guilt around it and they're ashamed and they don't, their parents a lot of times have guilted and shamed them as well. Like one of my clients, her father sat her down and said, I'm so sad that I'm not going to see you in the afterlife. And she was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, because you're going to burn eternally. And that just breaks my heart. And she was like, what? So it's just coming to understand that is his experience and this is her experience. And that doesn't make him a bad person and it doesn't make her a bad person. And so I teach a lot of that too, because people I think are spiritually thirsty right now.
Absolutely. And you mentioned isolation, and I find it interesting in my own research as well that really what we're dealing with a lot of women is a loneliness epidemic. And we're completely surrounded by people all the time, so we don't make the connection. Has that been your experience as well?
It has. I think a great divide has happened. And I won't get in. I mean, we all know the reasons, the pandemic, the political state of our country right now, and our political leaders. And I just feel like, it used to be where in politics, especially, it was kind of like football. It's like, oh, you go to Georgia and I go to Georgia Tech and they're completely different schools, but, I love you, man, or, I love you, girl, or whatever. But I'm finding that people just don't feel that way anymore. It's like, if you're not over here on this side, then we can't be friends. Mm-hmm. And that on top of just, if you divorce, you lose your friends. When your kids go off to college, a lot of times people don't get together anymore. And parents become older and then we become their caregivers and then they die. And now we don't, our friends are isolated. It's just, there's so many different factors, I think, where women are on their journey completely alone and not from their own doing.
Absolutely. I think that society has driven so many to focus on our differences rather than what we have in common, which is so much more.
It is.
And just takes reminding each other of that sometimes, and try to remind ourselves every day that to see beyond that initial thing that's in your face that doesn't seem you don't necessarily connect with, and just give grace, right?
Fill in that divide with the grace. And at Find Your Lady Tribe, we have sort of this mission of filling that loneliness space with each other, and always bringing the tools and the trips, the knowledge, like what you have and what you share with the women that you get to work with. What can you share with our listeners about how those women friendships and can feed those needs for self-validation and sort of fill in the gaps and bridge the divides that all of us are having right now?
Yeah. So one of the things that I found that has worked for me personally, and I share it with others, is I think it needs to start with finding something that you love. So if it's gardening or cooking, or I see like all the wine behind you, playing tennis, pickleball, just anything that you're like, I did that as a kid, or I did that in college, or I haven't done that in a while. And I do say like something new, because I think just the excitement of newness itself, like it raises our vibration and we go into something like really excited. And to find like clubs, groups, teams that have that common interest. And then the focus is on that. If you're focusing on something that everyone in the group is already loving and excited about anyway, and then you have this passion that you're sharing together, I think that it breaks down a lot of barriers that women have a tendency to hold up. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever walked in to like a business meeting and you don't know anyone, and it's just like, if you're an introvert like I am, it's just can just be terrifying. So I don't recommend that for building relationships necessarily, because I find that women have a tendency to think that we just want something from each other. But if you're finding a hobby or a game or something like that you really love, it is a beautiful place to start building real, true connection and community.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree that exploring your interests. I think we say
Yeah,
it all the time.
we
Explore your
do. And actually, Brenda and I probably developed our relationship through a similar thing. It was just our Women Who Wine, but it was basically an open
I love that
policy that you bring yours and I'll bring mine, and we'll all get together, and then people will find one another and there'll be no pressure. But the relationships that are built out of that they were foundational really to Lady in the Tribe, and actually helped us go deeper to connect one-on-one with each other and with ladies there. And I noticed that you speak on the idea of being able to ramp up your manifesting superpowers. And lots of our tribe, we practice things together. And I'm curious, just by example, what sort of amazing things are you helping manifest for yourself and for the women that you work with?
Well, I'm really glad that you asked this
you're
question.
not sleeping in your car anymore.
Not sleeping in my car, no. So I just got off a call this morning with one of my clients. She has been a real estate agent for a long time. And we started working together, and she was just like, I just feel like I just cannot get past this ceiling, like no matter what I do. And so what we tend to do as humans is we tend to throw action and try to figure out how is it going to happen?
Yes.
Yes. would try to meet new people and hustle and grind and all the things. And that's what she was doing. She was just hustling and grinding herself into the ground. So a year ago, I told her to build a vision board. Now, here's the thing about vision boards. Most people have them, but they don't ever look at them. They don't focus any attention on them. So I told her to build a vision board, and I made her send me a picture of it. She actually attached it to the ceiling in her bedroom.
Can't avoid it.
Yes. So every night, before she's going to sleep and every morning she's waking up, she's seeing like this amazing career on this vision board that she built. She closed on a $4 million property this past week, where she was the only agent on the deal.
Wow.
And it was an all cash offer, so she didn't have to wait on a bank. Yep.
That's like manifesting.
Woo!
Yes. And so her income now is significant. And it's like this morning, she just started crying on the phone, and she was just like, I am so grateful. And I'm just so completely grateful to you. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't do it. You did it. Like, be grateful to yourself. Like and I feel like that's another thing too, as women, is that we don't own our power. And you can't manifest amazing things and believe that you're powerless at the same time. Like, the two just don't go together.
You can't even accept a compliment.
Right.
Right.
We have to train ourselves to.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, you have more
Well,
questions.
I wanted you to tell us about your book.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I'm so excited. So I just released my book. It's a spiritual journey, the part no one talks about. It is the story of when I was homeless and pregnant and living in a car, and placing my son for adoption, and our miraculous reunion 24 years later that I completely 10,000% manifested. Yeah, we faxed our paperwork in at the exact same time to find one another.
Chills.
That has got to be incredible. I mean, that is right up my alley. I'm going to go find your book because, I mean, I'm kind of like, I love that show, Long Lost Family. Did you ever watch that?
Yes.
Oh, it's amazing to me to see it over and over again, because there's something innate in us that drives us to find who we are and where we belong.
Absolutely.
And you see, people who were adopted and raised by wonderful families, but they get to a certain point and they are driven to the core of their being to find out where they come from. And I really can't wait to read your book and hear how yours turned out.
Thank you. Yeah, it's on Amazon. You can go there and find it. Yeah, it's so crazy, because I went to so many psychics over the years asking them, am I gonna ever see my son again? And every single one of them told me no.
Wow.
There was not one of them that said yes. And I just didn't let it deter me. I just didn't let it stop me. And my older sister, is the one who one day after we went to see a psychic, and she was just like, I'm so sorry, you're never going to see him again. And we got in the car and I was just sobbing. My sister was like, listen, look at me. You are one of the most powerful people I know. So don't listen to that. Like, you manifest seeing him again. And it was exactly 10 years later that I woke up in the middle of the night and I was just like, it's time. I just felt it. I heard a voice and I felt it in my whole being. And I called the adoption agency, and she tried to talk me out of it because it was a closed, sealed adoption. And she's just like, I'm sorry, it's going to take so long. And it's going to be so devastating for you. And I was like, I don't care. And the next morning, he and I fax machine, faxed our paperwork in. And the receptionist that collected it, I met her later on, and she was just like, I was just standing there trembling because I knew that this was your son and you were his mother. It was just
Oh.
amazing.
That's
Wonderful,
beautiful.
wonderful. Oh,
Okay.
thank you
get
for
the book.
sharing that. Yeah, thank you. So would you tell us and our listeners, what is your core message that you want to impart on women? And if you have any takeaways, action steps, challenges for our listeners, we always like to leave them with some piece that they can put into their puzzle of wholeness and joy. So start with what is your core message for women?
Yeah. So my core message is that you probably are not living your true, authentic life. If you find yourself feeling guilty for not taking care of other people. So that's the core message. Like if you sit down to rest and you feel guilty, you say no to someone and you feel guilty, if guilt or shame is in your story, then you are not living your most true, authentic self.
Right. And before you get on to action steps, I just want to circle back just a little bit to hiring a coach. Why should women seek some help for themselves?
Most people have a car, so they understand what I'm getting ready to say. There is a spot on both sides of your car that's called a blind spot. And without special mirrors and devices that beep at us, or someone else sitting in the car saying, hey, don't change lanes right now. You can't see it, but it's there. That's why you need a coach, because there's so much that you cannot see from where you're sitting, that the things that are standing in your way are not obvious to you.
What do you have to say to the women who just don't feel like they can justify spending on themselves?
Those are the women who need to swipe the credit card.
I'm
serious.
For everything else. Really.
I'm serious. I'm serious with that.
Else.
Yeah. I mean, I had a husband a few years ago hire me for his wife as her Christmas present. She had no idea that she was going to have a coach. And I asked him, why are you doing this? And he's like, I'm tired of watching my wife get Botox, breast implants, highlights, new shoes. We have 2 closets full of her clothes, and she's miserable. He's like, she's trying to fix it on the outside. And I've always thought that she's perfect. She doesn't need to do one thing on the outside of herself for me. He's like, but it's killing me to watch her slowly erode over time. And what happens with so many of us, and it makes me emotional, is that, when we start to age, society just does not like aging women. We're not honored. We don't get movie roles anymore. We don't get CEO titles. We're not the top salesperson. We're not picked for the team anymore. And so if you're already struggling and now you start fighting the battle of gravity, you're just miserable.
Right. Ladies, you deserve this. We all need some help sometimes. We all need just a little course correction sometimes. So yes, yeah, thank you for.
And I have my own coach.
Yeah,
I mean, I will never go without
I
a coach
do as well. I think it's very, very important. So before we get to your takeaways, how can our listeners and viewers find you? We will absolutely put all your contact info and the links into the description here. So check out YouTube, check out your podcast for links and details. But right off the cuff here, how can they find you?
So I actually have a gift for them.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Good.
So you can go to AllysonRoberts.com. It's the very first thing that you'll see pops up. You do have to give your email address to get it, but I promise you guys, I am not one of those people. You are not going to get 77 emails from me in a week. Like, I just don't do that. I don't like to have it done to me, and I don't do it to other people. So put your email address in, and here is what's going to land in your inbox. And I love this. So I recorded a meditation with a producer who put in subliminal messages underneath my message and the music. So 5 things are happening to you in that meditation. The first thing is that you're reconnecting with your little girl. So she's in the meditation with you. Mm-hmm. The second thing is that you're divorcing stories that no longer serve you. And you don't even know that this is going on, but it's going on. Number 3 is that you're opening up a door inside of you to invite in your angels, guides, and masters who are with you every single day for the rest of your life. And if you don't believe in angels, guides, and masters, then whatever you believe in is going to come in. The 4th thing that you're doing is you're aligning yourself with your highest purpose. And the fifth thing that you're doing is becoming your true authentic self.
I'm in. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Sounds wonderful, Allyson.
Thank you for the gift.
Thank you for sharing that with all of our listeners. They're going to love it. And I'm
You're welcome.
Now, what's our homework assignment and our takeaway? How can we put your experience and expertise into action for ourselves?
So get out a piece of paper and magic markers or crayon or whatever, and draw, not write, draw what you want your life to look like in a month from today. And then on the back of the piece of paper, get very honest about what's missing that's going to keep you from becoming that version of yourself 30 days from now. And then just do one inspired thing that's different. Just one thing. So if it's like, oh man, I sit in bed at night for an hour and a half and scroll social media before I go to sleep. So I'm going to go to sleep with my phone in my bathroom. It's just for 30 days. Or maybe it's, I'll have a glass of wine with dinner, but I'm not going to have glasses number 2, 3, and 4. Or maybe it's that $800 that you spend on Amazon every month. Just pick one thing to put up on a shelf for 30 days and just watch and see what happens. It's magical. I promise you. It's so magical.
That sounds like fun too.
Yes. Great challenge. I love validating those great things that you're able to manifest because you get your power back that way.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Wonderful. So, we define tribe here as 2 to 6 people in your life that you can count on, that are your support system. A tribe is not a clique. But we always like to ask our guests, how do you tribe? How do you build depth into those relationships that are important to you?
Time. Quality time. Not quantity time, but quality time. So when I get together with people, my phone is in my purse and we are face to face, eye to eye, just really in an environment where we can hear one another, where we can see one another, and making true connection. Because to me, that is like, it's everything. To me, that's tribing.
Yes. So tribe, the time and being present is what I'm
Yes.
being there.
Yes.
So often we're places, but we're not really there, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right? So that's just wonderful. Thank you so much. Did we miss anything?
No, I want to thank you again and for joining both of us, because we say that when
3 or more gather, we are a tribe.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you you so much for joining us today for Find Your Lady Tribe. Would you do us a favor and hit that like button and add a comment? It'll really help us grow.
Better yet, find the share arrow and share out to your tribe. Join us again next week on YouTube or your favorite podcast service.